Frankenstein is a tragic novel about hubris and ambition, and that hubris and ambition takes the form of the protagonist, Victor Frankenstein. Frankenstein wants to defeat death and disease, and to do this, he tries to make a perfect being out of dead body parts. But upon bringing his creature to life, he realizes it's ugly and abandons it, and it eventually returns to seek its revenge. In this version, I wanted to stick as closely as possible to the original Mary Shelley novel, and it helps if you've read that novel because it's very different than movie versions of Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein is not a doctor, he is a medical student. Nobody would give this guy a medical license. The creature in film version struggles to even be articulate. In the novel version, the creature is eloquent. He can spout quotes from the Bible and Paradise Lost. He's a real romantic. There are no lightning bolts. The creature isn't created in a castle laboratory. It's an attic laboratory. It's very small, and the creation is very silent. Victor almost falls asleep during the process during which it happens. We never really find out how he brings the creature to life because he keeps it secret, because he wants that secret to die with him. He doesn't want the reader to repeat the same mistakes he made. I always imagined that if you had to create the creature, it would be done with an electrical battery and a chemical formula that you could inject into a corpse and somehow reanimate it by restarting its heart. Mary Shelley wrote this novel when she was between 16, and by the time she was 19 or 20, it was published. Her mother was Mary Wollstonecraft, who was the mother of the feminist movement, really. Mary never met her mother. Mary Wollstonecraft died in childbirth with Mary. So the themes of childbirth and abandonment and not knowing your parent are very much present in that novel. The way I interpret it, the creature and Victor share the same soul. When the creature is around, Victor can kind of sense it. And Victor is sort of the intellectual part of us. He's cold, he's clinical, he's logical, and he believes if you can do it, it should be done. In contrast to Victor, the creature is all emotion. He feels tremendous love, tremendous rage. He really can't even contain himself. He speaks eloquently about how it feels to be lost and abandoned and hated by everyone. He quotes Paradise Lost. He says, "I ought to have been thy Adam, but instead I am thy fallen angel." While Victor is in Ingolstadt creating the creature, Elizabeth, his fiancée, she's sending in these long letters about what's happening at home, and she's professing her love to him and how she wishes they could be married, and Victor completely ignores them. The creature wants what Victor has and takes for granted. In this module, the primary conflict is not just the creature as an outside thing. It arises from the player characters themselves as they wrestle with the question, who is the monster here? Is it Victor or his creature? And I think that's what makes Frankenstein a great novel. I don't think Mary Shelley answers the question. She poses a great question, and she presents a balanced point of view. On one hand, Victor has tremendous talent and intellect, and he has, in some ways, a noble goal, which is to defeat death and disease. But at the other end of the spectrum, he is extremely self-absorbed and selfish. And what he really wants to do is create a master race of people that worship him like a god. The creature is passionate and can express himself and reads poetry in the Bible. But at the same time, he did kill a child. Like his rage knows no boundaries. So both of these characters have their strengths and weaknesses, and I wouldn't be surprised if your players are going to argue about this for quite some time, even after the game is over. My inspiration for the interiors of the laboratories were Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. The laboratory is filled with test tubes and scientific equipment. It's really crowded and claustrophobic. I wanted the creature to look twisted, like Wrightson's creature looks twisted and like broken looking. The sculpt I chose was by Printed Obsession. You can download the file or get one off of Etsy. For Victor, I used two models. Student Victor is Hero Forge, and Mad Scientist Victor is sculpted by Great Grimoire. I was approached to do the module by DM Scotty and DMG, the Quest Givers, because Macbeth, our previous module, had been very successful. And Frankenstein was one of the ideas that I had pitched to them. They said, hey, we'd love to do something else. And Scotty said, I'd really love to do Frankenstein. Our Frankenstein is system agnostic. I've run it with 1E, 5E, OSE. I've even used Dread, the Jenga tower, and run it as a Dread game, so it can work with any system. I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes. Frankenstein is available at questgivers.com. It's a lot of fun, and I'd love to hear about your experiences with your players, and you could put those experiences in the comments below. So now it's time for me to get back to whatever it is I do. I'll see you soon, and all your rolls be 20s.